land agents came to me about 2 years ago, and the first guy came and seemed to be real nice, one thing or another, and we started on it. But before he left, he said, if we don't sign, they're going to take it by eminent domain.
We didn't want it at all, but we just kind of did it in the end because we knew what would happen if we didn't.
Their message to you is, if you sign now, this is how much money you get. If you try to fight us and we actually get a corporate eminent domain to take your land, we'll offer you peanuts.
Yeah.
Did you feel coerced into signing?
Yes, because then I was going to have to go to court on that deal, and then I figured I'd get less money.
Nearly everybody in Iowa is opposed to them using eminent domain to build this pipeline. It's never been done. Anytime eminent domain's been used, it's been for a true public purpose. And even though the company argues, well, we're a public utility, we're providing you with gasoline, people aren't buying that.
So tell us what eminent domain means for someone who hadn't heard it before.
Well, eminent domain is the power of the government to come in and take land for, historically, for a public purpose. Now, the government also has the capacity to give that authority to a utility company, or subcontract it out to a state agency, the Department of Transportation, for example. But it's rare, historically, unprecedented really, that a Texas, a company from out of state would be given the authority to use eminent domain.
Down the road here, if this thing doesn't get stopped, the eminent domain, they can use it for anything they want. It don't matter if it's a shopping mall or a house or a convenience store, whatever. I mean, if they let one corporation do it, they'll let them all do it. I mean, it wasn't right.
Job creation, that's always an argument for these kinds of projects. Are there any Iowans being put to work building this pipeline?
They promised 2,000 to 4,000 jobs for Iowans in writing. They promised it. It's on their fact sheet. They promised all these jobs, yet they will not tell us how many jobs were actually created. And a report from the Des Moines Register, I think they said one of the unions that's from out of state, but they had people hired, I think something like 400 welders hired from their union to work on this project in Iowa. I think they said 11 of them were Iowans. 11.
There's been very few Iowa jobs. They brought in most of this labor from elsewhere.
Well, Iowa jobs for maybe the hotel workers who clean their rooms?
Yeah, maybe jobs for gas stations and diners and restaurants.
Well, I was around a lot, and I can honestly say I only found one person from Iowa working on the pipeline, and he was a flagger. But other than that, I never run into one person from Iowa as far as being a union member that run a piece of construction equipment or what have you.
They do so without the government having any kind of check and balance?
Well, it's a token check and balance. There's a permit that has been granted to Dakota Access by the Iowa Utilities Board. That permit gives them the right to use eminent domain, but it also stipulates a lot of conditions. For example, one condition is they aren't supposed to turn topsoil in wet conditions. Now, our topsoil is what makes this state rich and beautiful and incredible. When you take topsoil and you turn it when it's wet, you basically create rock. It's like clods of dirt that are so hard and unmanageable that it's ruined for years.
We had a lot of difficulties with the way the agreements were and what they actually ended up doing going through our properties. As far as what happened, what they agreed to do and what they did do was totally different. The rules changed as we went. We signed litigation papers as far as what the amount of topsoil, what we wanted pushed back. We wanted anywhere from 2 to 4 feet pushed back, or the color change of the soil. They come in, they pushed off 8 to 12 inches, and then they said that was all the topsoil we had. Well, we've got black dirt 4 feet deep, and they hired what they called a soil scientist to come in. And it was one man's theory that when they probe the ground, they come to the first speck of clay, that is the end of your topsoil, even though you do have 2 to 4 feet of topsoil in our area here. This one man decided on that. And we had inspectors that the county hired, which was reimbursed by Dakota Access. The money all led back to Dakota Access.
There was one soil scientist that went out to visit one of these farms, and he said, yeah, your soil is shot for at least 9 years. It won't recover for 9 years. And the pipeline company's not reimbursing farmers for lost crops for 9 years. They're violating terms of the permit. And the utilities board and state government is doing nothing to hold them accountable. So not only are they being given this power to come in and condemn land, there's no accountability.
I've been condemned, so I haven't signed anything, willingly. So we're in the process of fighting in court, and it's been timely, and it's taken a lot of money, and we're not done yet. Condemned is when the company, an entity, has permission to take your land from you and do whatever they want to with it, and then give back whatever they have, take it back however they leave it.
It was pretty shocking once I saw how much earth they dug up. And they had one pile of earth on one side and one pile on the other. But that one pile was so high and it sat there so long, it eventually looked like a little mountain. It grew all kinds of plants and buttonweeds and things on it. Then they brought the pipe in and they assembled it above the ground. Then they eventually set up some structures to lower it into this big trench that they dug. Heavy, heavy machinery. They worked at night. We could hear them. It was constant. And to hear it, to see it, to feel it, to step out on my porch in the middle of the night and have a stadium light shining up on me, that was really tough.
The way they took it from me was just totally unacceptable. I mean, if you have property in the state of Iowa, you could be next.
See, Iowa's laid out like a grid, and this pipeline cuts diagonally across the grid. Think about what that means. It means every single parcel of land gets cut at the worst possible angle. You can't follow the fence line.
Are you aware that the company that owns the Dakota Access Pipeline has a board member that's now going to be the Secretary of Energy?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's the state officials that were actually bought out. Governor Branstad being the prime, I'm going to say it, crook in this matter. This is ridiculous that Governor Branstad is backing this pipeline because he's been against big oil, trying to ruin our ethanol industry, and he's been a big champion of controlling eminent domain so it doesn't get abused. And suddenly he's doing what big oil wants, and he's okay with eminent domain? What's wrong with that picture?
They told each of you that the other had signed?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They sent him the money, and then I was wondering what was going on, so I called my brother, and he said he already signed and had his money already, and I didn't. And they just kept after me, and I wouldn't sign because I didn't like the way they did business.
Because a lot of people, most of the people I've talked to, in fact, everyone I've talked to, eventually caved in.
I guess just being bullheaded. I served this country, and we give an oath to protect enemies, both foreign and domestic. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a domestic enemy because they're taking rights, stripping rights from us. It's just not right.
Like I say, I've got a book of violations there, and nobody wanted to admit what was going on. I mean, they just pushed and they pushed and they did what they wanted, and it's just like they didn't have to answer to anybody. But it got out of hand is what happened. So.
Did you ever ask yourself, the amount of money I turned down, how does that compare to the stand I'm taking and the principle that I'm upholding?
Well, I'll just say this. It had been a lot easier, a lot of headaches if I'd have just taken the money and ran. But I just couldn't do that. Like I said, this is for you. This is for anybody that has property in the state of Iowa. This will change the way we do business in our country.
It just wasn't right, that a private company could go across, 12 or 1,300 miles and do what they did. It just wasn't right.